to cinema.
Go to the cinema.
Excuse me?
We need the article the. So we'd say,
Ah,
sometimes I go to the cinema.
okay, yes. Sometimes I go to cinema.
The.
The cinema, yes.
Yeah. Okay. What kinds of movies do you like to watch?
For example, yesterday I saw The Hunger Games.
Okay. Was it good?
Yes, it's good.
Okay. Nice. Um, was it the last one? Is it the last Hunger Games? I don't know how many there
Yes,
are.
yes, it's the last one.
Okay. And have you seen the others?
Yes, yes, I saw I seen the old movies,
Okay. I've seen all the movies.
all the movies. Yes.
And have you read the books?
No, 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 no,
Okay.
no.
I feel
Just the
like they'd be
movies.
good practice for English, actually, if you read the books in English, because it's kind of simplistic. At least what I've read. I haven't read very much, just a couple pages. Um, but the English is not very complicated, so it might be a good practice if you ever get the
It's,
chance.
thank you.
Yeah. Um, Jose, how's it going?
Hello, Joshua. I'm doing very well. Thanks for asking. And you?
Doing well, thanks. It's good to see you again.
Yes,
Jose,
nice
any
to see
big
you
plans for the
again.
weekend?
For the weekend, I don't have any special plans for the weekend, but I think I'll spend the whole weekend with my family at home.
Okay, weekend with your family at home. Sounds good. Um, will you do anything fun, like watch a movie or go to the
No,
park or?
on Saturday, it could be possible to go running, I think.
It could be possible to go running. That's like a
Yes.
say that in a different way.
Ah, I'll go running.
Yeah, I'll go running or I might go
Yes.
running. Saying like it could be possible to go running is like
Yes.
it's a little bit
Okay.
roundabout.
I'll go running.
Um, yeah, I mean even if you think about it in Spanish, like puede ser posible ir a correr. I don't know, it just
Yes.
sounds I mean, at least to me it sounds a little bit like
Okay.
circular.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Okay, but good. Yeah. And okay, I think that's everybody. We can get started with today's story. So I'm gonna read a William Carlos Williams story. Ken, how's it going? Hey, Ken, are you there? Ken?
Yes, hello, I'm here.
Okay. How are you?
How are you? Yes, I'm fine. How are you?
Doing well. You've got a little bit of an echo, it sounds like.
Really?
Oh,
Still?
maybe it's better now.
Okay, maybe because of my Bluetooth speaker, at the first there's an echo. So, yeah, I don't know
Okay,
why, but
well,
if it is
I'm not
heavy,
sure.
yeah, yeah.
Sounds better now.
Okay.
How's your day been? What have you been up to today?
It is rainy all through the day, so uh I just kind of setting my computer or phones or yeah, it has some troubles. I called the customer center to check that this. Yes. And
Okay.
then yeah.
Oh, okay, sorry, I hate interrupting. I always do
No,
that.
no, no.
But okay, cool. And so yeah, today's story is going to be the use of force. And let's start with Zian. Zian, can
Yeah,
you read the title until sick?
yeah, sure. The use of force. They were new patients to me. All I had was the name Olson or um. Please come down as soon as you can. My daughter is very sick.
Yeah, and then read one more sentence.
When I arrived, I was met by the mother, a big, startled-looking woman, very clean and apologetic, who merely said, "Is this the doctor?" and let me in.
Okay, let's look at merely. Who merely said?
Yeah, merely. Yeah.
Yeah, who merely said. And, oh man. The use. Can you repeat use?
Use.
Yeah. Okay, other than that, that sounded good. Does anybody have any questions in this first part? Any questions?
Startled.
Startled. It's like shocked. So if somebody's startled, they're like, "Oh!" So she's a person who looks like she's always kind of surprised by something.
Okay.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Yes, the meaning of merely.
Merely. It means
Merely.
it's really similar to only. Or just. She just said, she only said, she merely said. This is like the only thing she said. Make sense?
Yes, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Other questions? Okay. And now, can you read the next bit?
Okay. In the back, she added, "You must excuse us, doctor. We have her in the kitchen where it is warm. It is very damp here sometimes." The child was fully dressed and sitting on her father's lap near the kitchen table. He tried to get up, but I mentioned for him not to bother. Took off my overcoat and started to look things over.
Okay. The kitchen table.
Table.
Hmm?
Table.
And motioned.
Motioned.
Yeah, motioned.
Hmm.
Okay. Questions here? Damp. Damp is like wet. It's not like really, really wet. It's just wet. You know, not dry. Any other questions?
What's the difference between a coat and an overcoat?
Okay, a coat and so an overcoat is like a coat that goes over your coat. So it's like a second coat.
Oh,
They're generally really big and heavy, so kind of like long too. So if you think about, it's like a really long, heavy jacket that goes over your other jacket.
I
yeah, I
have
get
it.
it.
Okay. And another question?
Motion.
It's like
Motion.
signal with your body. So motion is just movement. So I made a movement. I didn't say anything, but I made a movement to tell him to not get up. Like I moved my hand probably in such a way as to tell him stay sitting down. Don't get up. Hopefully that makes sense. Any other questions? Okay, so yeah, I mean, basically we have a doctor coming into like what we see is kind of like a poorhouse. And that's it so far. And there's a sick child. Jose, can you read the next bit?
Okay. I could see that they were all very nervous, eyeing me up and down distrustfully. As often in such cases, they weren't telling me more than they had to. It was up to me to tell them. That's why they were spending $3 on me. The child was fairly eating me up with her cold, steady eyes and no expression to her face whatever.
Yeah, okay. That sounded really good. Yeah, questions here. There's some tough ones. Any questions here? All right. Ksenia, welcome to class. How's it going? Oh.
Hello, guys. Hello. I'm sorry I'm late. I'm fine, thank you.
Nice. Okay. Good to have you. And Ana Carolina, what was your question?
I've never heard eating me up with her eyes. I think it means staring.
Yeah. Eating me up with her cold, steady eyes. She was staring at him. Yeah. That's it. And yeah, like maybe staring curiously, but yeah, staring. Other questions?
Fairly?
Like pretty much. Just about, like virtually. You could also say practically. Those are all these synonyms. She was fairly eating me up. She was like pretty much eating me up. Because it's impossible to actually eat somebody with somebody's eyes, but, you know, it's kind of an expression. Other questions? Okay, so he's a doctor. They are poor people. The daughter is sick, and they don't really tell him what's wrong with her because they're spending $3 on him. They expect him to find out what's wrong and like diagnose it. The child clearly doesn't trust him, and she doesn't have an expression on her face. She was just blank. Hopefully that makes sense. Jacqueline, can you read the next part?
She did not move and seemed inwardly quiet, an unusually attractive little thing, and as strong as a heifer in appearance, but her face was chaffer. She was breathing rapidly, and I realized that she had a high fever. She had magnified blondy hair in profusion, one of those picture children often reproduce in advertising leaflets and the photogravure sections of the Sunday papers.
Okay, good. This word you won't ever see probably again. Pretty much just like the picture sections in old newspapers. It's like an old way of taking pictures. I wouldn't worry about it at all because I doubt you'll ever see it again. I think this is the only time I've ever seen it. But yeah, just an old way of taking pictures and putting them into papers, so newspapers. Let's look at profusion. Fusion? Can you repeat profusion, Jacqueline?
Profusion.
And then magnificent.
Magnificent.
Magnificent. And flushed.
Flushed.
And unusually.
Unusually.
Yeah, unusually.
Unusually.
Perfect. Nicely done. Okay. Questions here. There's some really difficult words. Questions?
Yes, I got a question.
Mhm.
Why is why did the writer use unusually instead of unusual? Because this word is used to describe attractive, right? And attractive is an adjective, so we have to use the adverb to describe adjective, right?
Yeah, so we use an adverb to just, yeah, so unusually is an adverb.
Oh, yeah, I get it. Thanks.
Okay. Yeah. And so, yeah, she's like unusually attractive, she's unusually good looking. A heifer is like a really,
Yeah.
It's a German word, I think. So it means a strong, like thick woman. Heifer.
Inwardly, I also don't know. Flushed
Inwardly. Are you just saying
inwardly.
inwardly?
Inwardly.
Okay.
Like,
So somebody who's inward is like closed to other people. So if you're an inward person, you think a lot, you don't express everything that you're thinking. Yeah, you're like your focus is into yourself, instead of out towards other people. So she's an inwardly person, like she's an inward person, we would say.
okay.
Yeah.
And flushed and leaflets.
Okay. So flushed is when there's a lot of blood in your face, so you can flush if you're really embarrassed. So if you do something that's kind of silly, you might flush. It's the same thing as blushing. But also if you have a fever and your face is really red, you're flushed. So that's what's happening here. So she's got a lot of blood in her face. A leaflet is like a little piece of paper, an advertisement, so that you hand out to people. So if you're walking in the road in a city, people will hand you leaflets. Hopefully that makes sense.
What about the word brochure?
A brochure, it's pretty much the
Yeah.
same as a leaflet. A brochure, a leaflet. A brochure maybe is a little bit more complicated. I would think of a brochure as something that folds, and a leaflet is just like a little square page. If
Thanks.
that makes sense? Yeah.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Okay. And Anna Carolina, can you read the next part?
She's had a fever for 3 days. Began the father, and we don't know what it comes from. My wife has given her things, like people do, but it don't do no good. And there's been a lot of sickness around, so we we thought you'd better look her over and tell us what's the matter. As doctor often do, I took a trial shot at it as a point of departure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You'll understand this sentence a little bit better as we go on. He took a trial shot at it as a point of departure, so he's going to make a guess. This is like guessing what's wrong as like a place to start out. So it's like a point of departure, a place to start out. Yes.
The way it is written, thought.
Yeah. So this is an accent. Where we've got a poor family. So she's had a fever for 3 days, began the father, and we don't know what it comes from. My wife has given her things, like people do, but it don't do no good. There's been a lot of sickness around, and we thought you'd better look her over and tell us what's the matter. So it's like you've got like this kind of poorish accent. I don't know if they're Irish, but yeah, so it's just the way that it's written, it don't do no good, things like that, are to give the reader the impression that this is a poor family. Hopefully that makes sense. Any other questions about any of these words?
Yes. Why did the writer use don't instead of doesn't?
Because
it's right?
Yeah, it should be doesn't. Again, if you're talking about less educated people, they make grammar mistakes. So,
Okay.
yeah, that's part of the reason why sometimes it's really difficult to understand people with less education, is because their grammar isn't correct. And so when you learn the language, it's like you're focused more on grammar, and if people don't use it correctly, you're like, oh, I'm so confused, if that makes sense.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. And let's bring this down. And let's have Zian. Can you read
Yeah.
the next part?
Yeah. Has she had a sore throat? Both parents answered me together. No, no. She says her throat don't hurt her. Does your throat hurt you? Added the mother to the child. But the little girl's expression didn't change, nor did she move her eyes from my face. Have you looked? I tried to, said the mother, but I couldn't see.
Good. Questions?
Um,
Nobody?
um, I'm a bit confused with this sentence, but the little girl's expression didn't change, nor did she move her eyes from my face.
Okay. So I guess let's underline the words that people are speaking. So we've got both parents answered together, and then this is them speaking. No, no, she says the throat don't hurt her. And then the doctor asks, or the mother asks, does your throat hurt you? So she's asking her child again if her throat hurts. But the little girl doesn't change her expression, so she doesn't answer, she doesn't change her expression, she doesn't do anything, and she doesn't stop staring at the doctor. So she's just continuing to stare at the doctor, refusing to answer the question. Make sense?
Okay. Yep.
And then the doctor asks the mother, have you looked? And the mother says, I tried to, but I couldn't see. Okay. Any other questions here? Okay. Okay, this is going to be a bit of a longer one, but let's have Now. Can you read the next bit?
Okay. As it happens, we had been having a number of cases of diphtheria in the school to which this child went during that month, and we were all, quite apparently, thinking of that, though no one had as yet spoken of the thing. Well, I said, suppose we take a look at the throat first.
Okay, nice job. Really good pronunciation of diphtheria. Maybe quite apparently.
Apparently.
Yeah. Okay. Other than that, that sounded really, really good. Yeah, read the next bit. That was short. Can you read the next sentence?
Me?
Yeah. No.
I smiled in my best professional manner, and asking for the child's first name, I said, "Come on, Mathilda, open your mouth and let's take a look at your throat."
Good job. Matilda.
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 Okay. And questions here.
What is diphtheria?
Okay. Diphtheria is a disease. It's like a bacteria that really, it can be really bad. It can also not be so bad, but it affects your throat.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Any other questions? Sorry?
Sorry, I thought I lost connection.
Oh, okay. And so if nobody else has any questions, let's have Ksenia. Can you read the next bit?
Nothing doing. Oh, come on, I coaxed. Just open your mouth wide and let me take a look. Look, I said, opening both hands wide. I haven't anything in my hands. Just open up and let me see. Such a nice man, put in the mother. Look how kind he is to you. Come on, do what he tells you to. He won't hurt you. At that I ground my teeth in disgust.
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 Yeah. Really nice job. Good pronunciation of coaxed. It sounded great.
Thanks.
Questions. Does anybody have any questions here?
What is the meaning of coast?
Okay. Who knows what coaxed is?
Difficult to say. It's like say, do it, please, please do it. I don't know how to say.
Yeah. So it's like suggested very nicely. Like tried to. So if you like trying to coax somebody to do something, you're trying to really nicely make them do it. Do something very nicely. So like in a very nice way, you're trying to be like, please do this. Yeah. Any other questions?
Here, it says, I haven't anything in my hands. I thought it should be, I don't have anything in my hands.
Yep. So, yeah, it should be. Different ways of speaking. You know, people have different accents. People have different ways of saying the same thing. This would be more like English. I haven't anything in my hands. So British English would be much more common than American English. American English, you'd probably never say that. You'd say, I don't have anything in my hands. But British English, yeah, I haven't anything in my hands.
Are they both correct?
To be honest, grammatically, I'm not sure. I would really recommend, like highly recommend, saying I don't have anything. And I know that is grammatically correct. I'm not sure if the British English is grammatically correct. I know that it's used. But yeah, British English is a little bit strange for me, just because I'm not used to it, if that makes sense. Any other questions? Okay. Jose, can you read the next bit?
Okay. If only they wouldn't use the word heart, I might be able to get somewhere. But I did not allow myself to be hurried or disturbed. By speaking quietly and slowly, I approached the child again. As I moved my chair a little nearer, suddenly, with one cat-like movement, both her hands clawed instinctively for my eyes, and she almost reached them too.
Nice. Okay. Really well done. Maybe disturbed?
Disturb?
Yeah. Okay, and questions here.
Yes. Cloud. Cloud. I don't know how to pronounce it.
Claude.
Cloud.
Yeah, you did a good job. It's like to scratch. So a cat has claws. A dog has claws. So it's like nails on your fingers. And so she's trying to scratch his eyes with her fingers, with her fingernails. Does that make sense? Anna Carolina?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Other questions?
What is instinctively?
Okay, so an instinct is something that you can't really control. Um, so usually animals have instincts more. But like, I guess you could say like a sex drive in humans is instinctual. It's not something that you like choose. It's something that is kind of built into you. Um, yeah, like a mother's love for her child is something that is instinctual. It's like made for the preservation of the child. Something you can't really help. Yeah, so that's an instinct. Like dogs have kind of the instinct to urinate on things to mark their territory. That's an instinct. Does that make sense?
Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions? Okay, so this crazy little child tries to scratch his eyes out. And Jacqueline, can you read the next part?
In fact, she noted my glasses, flying as they fell through unbroken, several feet away from me on the kitchen floor. Both the mother and father almost turned themselves inside out in embracement and apologized. You, you bad girl, said the mother, taking her and shaking her by one arm. Look what you've done, the nice man.
Okay, nice. Embarrassment.
Embarrassment.
Yeah, embarrassment. Um, Sounded good. Questions here. No questions? They turned themselves out inside out? What's that mean, Ksenia?
So they were very embarrassed. I don't know how to say turn them inside down. It's like I
Yeah, so
understand, but I couldn't explain it.
it's difficult to explain. Yeah, so they kind of became different people. They were so embarrassed. They're like profusively sorry, like really, really embarrassed, and trying to like change the way they were acting, or they changed the way they were acting because they were so embarrassed. Um, yeah. And Anna Carolina, can you read the next part?
For heaven's sake, I broke in. Don't call me a nice man to her. I'm here to look at her throat and the sense that she might have diphtheria and possibly die of it. But that's nothing to her. Look here, I said to the child. We're going to look at your throat. You're old enough to understand what I'm saying. We will open it now by yourself, or shall we have to open it for you?
Good. Okay. Um, yeah, that sounded good. Questions here. Okay. So what we've got, the doctor's really frustrated by now. It's like he's with a poor family. The girl is like trying to scratch at his eyes, and the parents keep saying the wrong things to her. So like the parents are saying like he won't hurt you, and he's like, why are you using the word hurt? And then they say like he's a nice man. He's like, I don't care. She doesn't care if I'm a nice man. It's like doesn't matter. I'm just trying to fix her. Um, so that's what's happening so far. He's like, you open your mouth and we look at you, or we'll open your mouth for you. And now, can you read the next part?
Not a move. Even her expression hadn't changed. Her breath, however, were coming faster and faster. Then the battle began. I had to do it. I had to have a slow culture for her own protection. But first, I had two parents that it was entirely up to them. I explained the danger but said that I would not insist on a slow examination so long as they would take a responsibility.
Okay, good. Let's look at her breaths.
Breath,
Breaths.
breath,
Good, close. It's a hard one with that THS sound, but her
breath,
breaths.
breath, breath,
Breaths.
breath.
Good, there you go. Nice, breaths. Told, but first I told.
But first I told.
The parents, it was entirely up to them. Okay, good. Questions here. A throat culture? What's a throat culture?
May I?
Yeah.
It's when you collect some bacteria with a swab,
Yes.
and then you pass into a petri plate and put inside a warm place. I don't know how to call the warm place in English.
Incubator?
To see the growth. Yes, incubator.
Yeah. A petri
And then
dish,
you
we would
can
probably say.
petri
Petri
dish.
Yeah, instead of a
Okay,
petri plate, a petri dish.
a petri dish. And then you see the growth, and you can also um, take the opportunity to try an antibiogram.
Yeah, so it allows you to determine the type of bacteria that you're dealing with. So if you take a throat culture, you're able to determine the type of bacteria that you have. Yeah, and that's the process. Any other questions? Okay. And Ksenia, can you read the next bit?
And from oh yeah, or if you don't.
If you don't.
If you don't do what the doctor says, you'll have to go to the hospital. The mother admonished her severely. Oh yeah? I had to smile to myself. After all, I had already fallen in love with this savage brat. Her parents were contemptible to me. In the ensuing struggle they grew more and more abject, crushed, exhausted, while she surely rose to the magnificent heights of insane fury to afford bread to her terror of me.
Okay. Of insane fury of effort, bred of her terror of me.
Of
I don't know why he
insane
uses that
fury.
so much. Sorry.
Mhm.
Insane fury of effort, bred of her terror of me.
Insane fury of effort bred of her terror of me. A lot
Yeah.
of off.
Yeah. So I would probably say to a magnificent heights of insane fury of effort. Well, I guess, yeah, it's just I don't know why he uses so much of. I would have changed the order of the sentence. But can you repeat savage?
Savage.
Yeah. Savage parent. Ensuing.
Ensuing.
Perfect. And Anna Carolina, questions.
Yes, a bunch. Admonished
Good.
in contemptible, insulting,
Okay.
and brat.
So contemptible. Oh well, it's suing and brat. Okay. Admonished is like to chastise, to verbally punish, to like. Yeah, to like. Scold. Yes, scold is a really good synonym. Something that's contemptible is like disgusting, low, just beneath you. So they're contemptible. He really doesn't like the parents. It's kind of like hate, but it's like hate because they are beneath. What was the other one?
Breath and ensuing.
Okay, ensuing is like the. Where is ensuing? So ensuing is like the subsequent, like the struggle that followed. You could say, like the next. And a brat is like an uncontrollable child, a child with no, I guess you could say education. Yeah, like an uncontrolled child, a wild child. Control, we could say, in a bad way. Yeah, a needy child, somebody who's spoiled, could be a brat as well. Object is like depressed without spirit, kind of like broken. They're object, they're like oh my goodness, like almost uncaring because of like depression. Yeah, and so the child is like really crazily angry because she's terrified of the doctor, and he like appreciates this like way that she is crazily terrified of him and what she's doing because of it. Yeah, does that make sense to everybody? Hopefully.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. And let's have Jose. Can you read the next part?
Okay. The father tried his best, and he was a big man, but the fact that she was his daughter, his shame at her behavior, and his dread of hurting her made him release her just at the critical times, when I had almost achieved success. Till I wanted to kill him, but his dread, also that she might have diphtheria, made him tell me to go on. Go on through he himself was almost fainting, while the mother moved back and forth behind us, raising and lowering her hands in an agony of apprehension.
Nice job with apprehension. Maybe one more time, apprehension.
Apprehension.
An agony.
Agony. An agony.
Yeah. Agony. And then as though, or he had
Go on
though he himself.
Go on though he himself.
Yeah. And dread. His dread.
His dread.
Okay, questions here? Okay. So the father's like trying to hold his daughter down, but because she's his daughter, because she seems to be in pain, he doesn't want to hurt her. Every time the doctor almost gets the throat culture, the father lets go of the daughter, and the daughter moves, and he loses his throat culture. And the doctor wants to kill the dad. He hates it. Yeah, and so the dad continues to go on because he's like afraid of the sickness that she has, and the mother is also really very anxious about it. And that's what's happening there. Ana Carolina, can you read the next part?
Put her in front of you on your lap, I ordered, and hold both her wrists. But as soon as he did, the child let out a scream. Don't! You're hurting me! Let go of my hands! Let go, I tell you! Then, She shrieked terrifyingly, hysterically. Stop it, you're killing me. Do you think she can stand it, doctor? Said the mother. You get out, said the husband to his wife. Do you want her to die of diphtheria?
Good. Let's look at shrieked.
Shrieked.
Good. And maybe terrifyingly. She shrieked terrifyingly.
Then she shrieked terrified. Oh my gosh.
Terrifyingly.
Okay, hold on. Then she shrieked terrifyingly. Then she shrieked terrifyingly.
Good. Nicely done. Questions here.
Shrieked.
Shrieked is screamed. So if you shriek, you're screaming. Other questions? Okay. And let's have now. Can you read the next part?
Come on now, hold her, I said. Then I grasped the child's head with my left hand and tried to get the wooden tongue depressor between her teeth. She fought with clenched teeth, desperately, but now I also had grown furious at the child. I tried to hold myself down, but I couldn't. I know how to expose a throat for inspection, and I did my best.
Good. Desperately.
Desperately.
I grasped.
Grasped. Grasped.
Yeah. So grasped is like grabbed or held.
Yeah.
And
Clenched is to hold tightly shut. So if you're clenching your teeth, you like clenching your jaw. You don't open your jaw. So you're like holding it really tightly shut. Other questions? Now?
Desperately.
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 So desperately is like in desperation, like you're almost like hopeless, but like it's like the only thing that remains of your hope is like to do this. Like this is the thing that you're clinging to the most tightly. So if you're doing something desperately, it's like it's the last thing that will save you. So like very, very seriously. So like if you're doing something desperately, if it fails, you're gonna die or something very, very bad will happen. So if you're desperate, it's like, yeah. Hopefully that makes sense. A tongue depressor is like a little wooden thing that pushes the tongue down so you can see into a throat. Pretty common for dentists. Okay, and let's have Ksenia. Can you read this next bit?
When finally I got the wooden spatula behind the last teeth and just the point of it into the mouth cavity, she opened up for an instant but before I could see anything, she came down again and gripping the wooden blade between her molars and reduced it to splinters before I could get it out again. Aren't you ashamed? The mother yelled at her. Aren't you ashamed to act like that in front of the doctor?
Good. Really nicely done. Okay. And gripping. Like gripping is the holding on to, and splinters are like small wooden pieces. It's like small sharp wooden pieces. So he's got the wooden spatula in so he can like look And then she opens up really quickly and then closes her teeth and crushes this wooden thing into splinters, like really small, sharp wooden things. Yeah, and then the mother's like, aren't you ashamed? We're so close. Let's actually do a big one. And Jose, can you read this next part?
Okay. Get me a smooth-handled spoon of some sort, I told the mother. We are going through with this. The child's mouth was already bleeding. Her tongue was cut and she was screaming in wild, hysterical shrieks. Perhaps I should have desisted and come back in an hour or more. No doubt it would have been better. But I have seen at least 2 children lying dead in bed or neglect in such cases, and feeling that I must get a diagnosis now or never, I went at it again.
Nice. Yeah, so he's asking for a thicker type of wooden spoon. Yeah, he decided to keep going with it. She's already bleeding. Her tongue's cut. She's screaming. He's like, perhaps I should have stopped and come back in an hour or later. He's like, it definitely would have been better to do that. But he's seen dead children because of this sickness, and he's like, I felt like I had to do it. Anna Carolina, can you read the next bit?
But the worst of it was that I too had got beyond reason. I could have torn the child apart in my own fury and enjoyed it. It was a pleasure to attack her. My face was burning with it. The damned little brat must be protected against her own idiocy. One says to oneself at such times, others must be protected against her. It's a social necessity, and all these things are true. But a blind fury, a feeling of adult shame, bred of a longing for muscular release are the operatives. One goes on to the end.
Muscular.
Muscular.
Blind fury.
Blind fury.
Fury. And protected.
Protected.
And so he's like, yeah, he was a little bit crazy about it too. He was beyond reason. He wasn't thinking correctly. He could have killed the child. He was so mad and enjoyed it. It was a pleasure to like try to get this throat culture. He was happy about it, that it was like hurting her. And he's just like, he's so unbelievably angry at her. But like, he's right, and he knows he's right. He's like, you need to be protected against her. It's like a social thing. Other kids can get sick. It's like she needs to be protected against herself. He's gonna save her life. But like, the hatred that he feels for her is like unreal. And now, can you read the next little bit?
Okay. In a final unreasoning assault, I overpowered the child's neck and jaws. I forced the heavy silver spoon back of her teeth and down her throat till she gagged, and there it was, both tonsils covered with membrane. She had fought valiantly to keep me from knowing her secret. She had been hiding that sore throat for these days at least, and lying to her parents in order to escape just such an outcome as this.
3. Valiantly. Till she gagged.
Gagged.
Yeah.
Gagged.
Yeah, so when you're gagging, it's like you're choking on something, like you're like that, like sense that something is in your throat, and you like are trying to reflexively get it out. She fought bravely. like, and very well. Yeah, she had been hiding her sore throat because she didn't want to see the doctor. And Ksenia, can you read the last part?
Now truly she was furious. She had been on the defensive before, but now she attacked, tried to get off her father's lap and fly at me while tears of defeat blinded her eyes.
Yeah. And so that's the end. So hopefully you guys liked the story. I really like this one. It's like an intense, emotional kind of roller coaster. You really feel for the doctor, but also kind of for the little girl. It gets a little bit frustrating sometimes. It just gets mad. But yeah, hopefully you liked it, and thanks again for coming in.